time is 6 o'clock on September 26, 2024. Regular board meeting of the Vernon Hills Park District Board of Commissioners is called to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Geraldo.
Here.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Here.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Vice President Senti.
Here.
President Dorhofer.
Here. Would those present please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda this evening is the omnibus vote agenda. Items under the omnibus vote agenda are considered routine and or non-controversial and be approved by one motion. If a separate vote on any one item is desired, it will be pulled from the omnibus vote agenda and voted on separately. Items included for the omnibus vote agenda for this evening are the minutes of the regular board meeting dated August 22nd, 2024, minutes of the special board meeting dated September 3rd, 2024, minutes of the closed session dated September 3rd, 2024, minutes of the special board meeting dated September 4, 2024, minutes of the closed session dated September 24, minutes of the special meeting dated September 10th, 2024, minutes of the closed session dated September 10th, 2024, payroll and payables in the amount of, through September 26th, in the amount of $1,397,183.25. Could I have a motion to approve the omnibus vote agenda?
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Geraldo.
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
Vice President Senti.
Yes.
President Dorhofer.
Yes. Superintendent Mitchell, are there any changes to the financial reports on the file for the period ending August 31st, 2024?
No changes.
Thank you very much. At this time, the board would like to hear remarks from the public. Remarks will be limited to 3 minutes and no board response will be given. Are there any remarks to be heard? If you could please step to the podium, state your name and address.
Chris Meyer, 371 Cherry Valley Road. My comments pertain to the redevelopment of Heartland Park. Looks really nice, but why did it take so long? It's been uprooted and a mess since very early spring. Next comment, right now, the entrance to each parking lot, there is a pile of it's dirt or dried concrete, I'm not sure what it is. It makes it very hard to get into the parking lots. It's been there for a couple of weeks since they finished the parking lots. Why hasn't it been removed? Also, at the entrance, not from the parking lot, but there's a path from Oakwood Road directly to the playground. It's opposite Crestland. Right now, the curb is about that high. It doesn't meet ADA standards. And I have seen people coming down from Crestland, and unless you go over this hump of a curb, you have to walk down to the parking lot to be ADA compliant, to go through the parking lot and to the playground. And I know people coming from coming south on Oakwood can go right into the playground, but if you're coming from Crestland, you've got to navigate, and I've seen a couple of people with strollers, and it's very hard to navigate. And those are my comments. Thank you.
I do have a question. Where's Crestland?
It's in Indian Creek, opposite the park, but they do use the park a lot.
But that's not a Vernon Hills.
I understand that, but at the same time, anybody from Vernon Hills who lives just south of Crestland, if they don't cross over, go over the curb, or go through the parking lot, you can't have access directly to the park playground.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Thank you very much. New business, Aquatic Ecosystem Management Presentation. Mike? Is it Perkus?
Purpose.
Perkus. And Fran blew you off, huh?
He did.
Frank.
So,
And you are from Aquatic Ecosystems, and you're going to present to us regarding Big Bear and Little Bear Lake shoreline.
assessment, yes.
Please.
So, good evening, I'm Mike Perkis, I'm with Aquatic Ecosystems Management, and I appreciate the opportunity to present this report. In May, we conducted a shoreline assessment of Big Bear and Little Bear Lakes to review current conditions and determine best management practices to maintain, enhance, and repair damage from shoreline erosion. In 2019, Lake County Lakes Management Unit did a large-scale lake survey which included shoreline erosion assessment. This provided baseline data for comparison that we used throughout our report. We used their format and criteria for erosion as shown in this 4 color-coded categories on this aerial map. Green being no erosion, yellow being slight erosion, orange being moderate erosion, and red being severe erosion. So Big Bear Lake, as everyone knows, it's 25 acres. There's a mile of shoreline. Little Bear Lake is a little over 26 acres with 1.6 miles of shoreline. So there's over 14,000 feet of shoreline on the 2 lakes. Erosion data was collected by walking the shoreline, making observations, measuring the slope from the grade that we were at down to the top of the water level, and then how far back it went. So we would measure the slope in that way. And then we created a photographic log for this report as well. The native shoreline buffers are present in most areas along the shoreline. The roots of the plants help stabilize the soil structure, reduce erosion, while the plants themselves provide habitat and often discourage additional foot traffic. The buffer widths, where they're present, vary considerably from about 5 feet to over 30 feet. And many plants in the native buffers over time have succumbed to non-natives and nuisance species, along, as you can see in this photo here, with volunteer woody species, including sumac, sandbar willows, and alder. So each of the maps we used, as you can see here, we have the lake data, and these are in the report, the PDF reports that were sent out as well. So we have the lake data and then the corresponding changes from 2019 to 2024. And as you can see here, the data we're migrating from no and slight erosion, and those are decreasing, and we're increasing in moderate to severe erosion. So some maintenance on these areas does need to be done. And in shoreline erosion, it's a natural occurrence in all lakes. The rates of erosion are influenced by several factors, including wind direction, shoreline materials, depth of water near the shoreline to absorb energy or not, and as well as there's areas where there's storm inlets and outlets that create eddies and currents around the structures as the water's coming in. And then there's also winter damage from ice heave. So you get big sheets of ice out there that just start heaving back and forth as conditions change and weather changes. So based on aerial photos, several phases of shoreline stabilization projects were completed between 2008 and 2013. And the shoreline work that was done is approximately 10,500 linear feet of the total linear footage out there of 14,116. So the structure and that they did on these stabilization projects, very, very well done. And these are the areas that are mostly green and have the least erosion impacts. So, and these were done either as you can see in this picture here, they were done with either a flagstone or a block retaining wall. This actually is a block retaining wall. And so basically these are concrete blocks and they're all anchored in, and they put a substrate underneath all of them. But even here you can see that there are areas on that lower left-hand picture that we've lost the topsoil behind the stone. So that gives the stones the ability to start moving and shifting. So it's a matter of coming in and repairing those areas that's really, really important to start doing. And then on the right-hand side where the volunteer trees are, you have the root structures of those trees are probably one of the few things that can get down underneath the substrate and start lifting it, just like you see sidewalks getting lifted by tree roots over time. So the damage that can be done from these is significant, And the key is right now you're at a point where it's not causing that damage yet, but that's why we want to get in there and try and do something about it sooner rather than later. So that's the areas where we have no erosion. The numbers and statistics are all in the report itself. So, but I just want to highlight a couple things here. So like areas where there's slight erosion, so on the lower left-hand picture here, you can see there's granite cobbles along the shoreline, there's plants behind it, and then we do have some areas of erosion back behind there. And then on the foreground, in the distant part of the picture, it actually is one of the retaining wall blocks, and it drops about 2.5 feet to the water, but we have all those granite cobbles in front of it. So again, there's no erosion. We do have some plants in front of there as well. And so the areas where we have the structure, we have very little damage. On the right-hand side, you can see some of the areas where we do have some damage, and that's because over time, the flagstone, you just get some little washouts behind there, and it starts moving the stone. And so after 15 years, those are some of the things that do start happening. So just being able to reset that and restore those areas behind there is something that certainly should be looked at. Areas for moderate erosion. For moderate erosion, it's where there's a shoreline drop off of between 1 and 2.5 feet at the water's edge. And so an area here that you can see, this is the end, the picture on the left is the lower, is the end of one of the retaining wall block sections. And so this area, you can see that the area behind there is washing out. And then at some point, the retaining wall is going to be several feet offshore, and I'll show you a section where that is shortly. But restoring these areas so that that stone is actually basically brought back to the shoreline, or another structure is put between the shoreline and that stone so that we can just mitigate the potentials for erosion. And then in the next picture there, you can see that we've had areas where the flagstone has slid out a little bit. Our normal water level is now behind there, so it's a matter of just getting that stone back in place, putting topsoil, seed, mat back there so that that area can start growing plants again instead of just being a washed out area that will continue settling and causing erosion in the areas around it. Areas where there's severe erosion. So these actually are both 5 bridges, and so the one on the left-hand side, you can see you've just had a lot of scouring from heavy storm flows when they do come through. You know, it's less than 1% of the time, but when they do occur, it causes massive scouring downstream. And since it's in the lake, that downstream area is now one of the shoreline areas. And so you can see that the stone it's about 4 feet offshore, and then the area on that slope goes anywhere from about 2 feet to about 4 feet, almost straight up like a cliff. So those areas where there's severe erosion really requires more engineering, permitting, and obviously the costs start going up significantly as well. And then the picture on the right-hand side is one of the original steel sheet piling areas by the bridge. And in the past 50 years, that steel is all corroded out, and now you have, you know, just a portion of that steel is still there, but everything that it was supporting is no longer there. So those areas are going to require a bit more planning, budgeting, and engineering, and regrettably more permitting. On the maintenance end, you don't need to worry about any permits for anything. SMC is glad to help facilitate all that. So finally, the storm inlets and outlets. So here, this is a wing wall by one of the discharge points. In this area here, you can see it's the picture on the lower left and upper right are actually the same discharge. One's the right-hand side wall, one's the left-hand side. The right-hand side on the bottom left is actually fairly stable. You have a little bit of washout that's occurred just from the eddies, from that water just coming in and starts circling around the back of it. But the one on the left, you have impacted 10 to 15 feet of shoreline downstream more or less. And if you look at that picture, you can see that little turf area, that sod area, or the topsoil area up top on that slope, and that whole slope is actually sloughing into the lake. And that's an area that's about 18 to 24 inches. So I would think that in most areas, SMC and any of the permitting areas would be like, you can go ahead and do maintenance on those, which would be just coming in and putting riprap in, which is far and away the lowest cost and the most engineering effective for areas where we do have high flows coming through. So what we propose to do is to come in and do maintenance on larger sections of the pond, of the lake, as noted in the report. And that basically is to come in areas like this, herbicide and the nuisance and invasive species, take out the sandbar willows, herbicide those, put topsoil back to grade, which would be the top of the stones there, and then seed and mat those areas with native species and some grasses, just to get some quick cover in there so that we can start ensuring that those areas don't get washed out. So, and then here is an area where it's only slight erosion at the end of one of the retaining wall blocks. As you saw as you see in that picture there, you can see what happens over time. We want to prevent that from happening there. So in these areas here, there actually was some muskrat damage up on the shoreline slope, and any of the material going in there, we would wrap everything with a chain link fence. So that's the only thing that will keep the muskrats out these days. And obviously there's also beaver out on the lake too. So the key is just to get things so that they're stable and set for the longer term. So, the bottom line is, you know, as everyone here knows, the lakes are a precious resource for stormwater management, for ecological function, and for recreational purposes. So the work that's been done out there 15 to 18 years ago has really made a big difference. You can't get the permitting or the budgeting to do a lot of that work anymore. So be glad that you did it when you did, because down at Lake Glenview, they wish they had done that. But now the key is just maintaining those areas, because there hasn't been a lot of maintenance done on them. And then for the areas that can be within a reasonable budget, on the no to slight erosion, things should just be planned for the next 4 or 5 years. And then the bigger areas where there's moderate to severe erosion in areas around the bridges, you just have to look for a longer term plan and meet with the engineers to get all that set. So with that, any questions?
Commissioner Robbins?
Do you warranty your work?
On the maintenance out here, everything would be warranted, yes.
For how long?
We would do a 1-year warranty on anything going in, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Sente?
What did you mean when you said you can't get permitting anymore? Is there some areas of the lake for a level of erosion that we will have problem doing anything?
The Army Corps of Engineers has, what was originally done on the lake with both the flagstones and their block retaining walls, to get those permits right now would be really, really difficult, because basically the Army Corps has said, we want you to try and do everything as native as possible on the shoreline. And in these areas, like at Lake Glenview, they went in and did thousands of feet of coconut fiber block. Well, the muskrats love chewing through it, and so areas where they've spent a lot of money have just been undermined. Having a structural feature is much more practical in lakes this big, especially when you get the storm flows that you do up here. So the permitting for areas near the bridges, they would have to allow permitting to be done. But on other areas for shoreline stabilization, they would want to try and do things. Right now they really don't even want more riprap going in on the ponds, on the lake. But the areas near the stormwater inlets and outlets, I think every other area where we've worked, they have continued to allow that. So, but trying to get the permitting done on the other stuff, I know Jeff has spent a bit of time looking at this already, and it's rather challenging.
So does that echo back into your comment in the report where you say hardscape structure was proven most valuable asset maintaining the shoreline stability for all those reasons?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
But we can go back and repair those areas, but
Correct.
maybe not use
We
that
can-
for
areas
something
where,
new.
as you saw here, where, like right here, where that ends,
Yeah.
we can't put another 15 feet of that in. We have to come in with something more native, which is why we would look at coming in with, basically, they're called Envirolock bags, and we would structure it to come back in, but we still would wrap everything with, as I said, with chain link, because the muskrats out here are,
Okay.
they're ferocious.
And then one more question.
if, it would be ideal if we could do all of it, right? But, you know, we have to look at funding for that. But it sounded like also from your report that you suggested that we look at the lower areas, the no erosion and the, what did you call it, the moderate or the
So areas like this right here.
first, because
Exactly.
that is the best use of our funds.
Exactly. If there's a budgeted amount, you can get so many more linear feet of areas like this repaired as opposed to.
That's the low-hanging fruit.
Exactly.
And prevents it from getting
It prevents
worse.
it from getting like this.
Okay.
Exactly. So.
All right, thank you.
So just for everyone's knowledge, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Army Corps several years ago decided or informed us that Big Bear, Little Bear is a navigable waterway because the CV ditch runs in from one side and runs out the other, and that's why they won't allow the hardscape anymore, is because it's navigable. We're talking about some cruise ships, bringing them in later on, but that,
Barely canoeable, but yes.
it's not canoeable, but that is the justification why the no more hardscape. Correct.
That's correct.
Oh, wow.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions, feel free to email them over and I'd be glad to get back.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Next item on the agenda are affiliate presentations. We're going to start with the soccer club.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
I'm Andrew Rebeck from the Vernon Hill Soccer Club, one of the directors. Give you a little bit of an update on our program. Our numbers are right about where they were last couple of years on the recreational side. Almost 800 kids between fall and spring. This fall we have just shy of 400. On the travel side, we have 5 teams. That's one higher than last year. We were able to add back a girls team. We haven't had a girls team in the last couple of years, so it's nice to see that U10 team back out, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to grow from there. Our teams range from U8 to U12 currently. On the financial side of things, we are a May 31st fiscal year, so every year we are always in between being able to provide our statements. They're not done yet, but they're being compiled by our accounting firm, so we'll have something towards the end of the year, and I'll make sure to turn it into Jeff, as I always do. We've maintained fees over the course of the last 5 to 6 years. We anticipate a small increase in our recreational program going into next spring. Our cash flow is okay right now, we're on budget. State of soccer is, not much different, I think, than many other sports, and we'll hear from some of the other affiliates. Very hard to find volunteers these days. Referees are at a shortage, as everyone knows. We're trying to put a program in place to get referees at a younger age and get them more comfortable with our pre-K, K fields, which are really young kids, and then get them to first, second, third grade. Some of our referees don't want to go up to 3rd through 7th grade because those games are a little bit more, not competitive, they're just a little rougher, right, as the kids get older. So we're trying to help make them comfortable and have them feel protected refereeing games. We had our 10th annual Chicago Cup over Labor Day. Huge success. In no short part to Park District, thank you very much, the village, the high school. John Christensen in particular is amazing from the Park District and able to help with all the logistics and the fields, and he just is, year over year been a great partner to work with, so we appreciate him very much. We had about 280 teams, close to 500 games on 20 fields, about 8,000 visitors in that 4-day stretch visited Vernon Hill. So that was very cold, the weather was beautiful, so that always helps for a nice event. We continue to have a good relationship with the high school and partner with them on the Little Cougars and things with their teams and players. The turf is being used, to the maximum, right? That was an investment that we jointly did with you and some others. Being used almost year round. Summertime is the least usage and therefore the most jumpers, as we like to say. We've got some ideas with the village, and we'll run it by you to see if you think there might be something we can do to help leverage, have the community help leverage that in the summer. I think that's my update for now. Any questions?
Any questions for Andrew? Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is the Vernon Hills Sports Club. Emily?
Thanks for having me tonight, or thanks for having us all on tonight. I'm Emily Cadwell, president of the Vernon Hills Sports Club. We have our financials, but with basketball and everything, we sort of, cross the years. But it's been a pretty exciting year for us. Our old charge has stepped down, so Stacy Bretner's last year was this past year, so her husband coaches at VHHS, but she's still going to be on as our liaison for helping us. But Mike Wogrowski has taken over girls basketball for us, which is exciting. We've seen a lot of good growth. So our big thing is not necessarily refs. Our paid coaches is a really hard thing to find right now in all of our sports. So we rely a lot on parent coaches, which is great. We've had a lot of people step up, which is awesome. We've also had a lot of new events happening. So last year, starting with lacrosse has been a tough sport for us. We've been combining with Mundelein and Lake County Stallions just to beef up our participation. We do have some interest, but with it being a spring sport, it's tough competition. So we're still doing that. We have right now currently a lot of free clinics going on, trying to reintroduce the sport to the younger kids who may not be into some of the other spring sports. Just making sure, our ultimate goal is to just make sure we're getting every kid involved in some sport, right? We just want them out and active during these seasons. So we're working on that. We just brought in John Miro to help us as Vince Tran has stepped down from that position. So John comes to us as a Lake County Stallion coach, and he's really, he has a lot of good knowledge and a lot of good involvement with a bunch of young kids coming up through all these different programs. We had a lot of fun things this year we've started doing some little mini camps, and we've had a lot of success offering a couple hour camps for $5 a pop, and then $25 for a 6-week stint. We've had a lot of our flag camp, saw 142 campers this summer come out for that. And it also helped us. Last year's numbers for flag, we were at 130 kids, and now this year we've jumped up to 160. So we also, with high school adding a girls flag team, we've also done the same with our younger program. We have it's a mixture of ages, so it's that 3rd through 5th graders girls team. So it's exciting though. Jen Nolan is taking part in both doing the coaching for that and also part of the high school. So she's been, really, big part of our flag movement. Another really exciting thing for us is we've brought back tackle, which may or may not be exciting for some folks. I'm really excited because my son likes to hit people, and I have 2 others who are also very fond of hitting. So, but we did our survey. We had 26 interested, and then we ended up getting our first team of 18 middleweight. So our league that we're in does it by weights, so that It's a 6th and 7th grade team with a couple 5th graders who've met that weight requirement, and we're really excited. We have a good pipeline developing. We've had a lot of interest drawn, but it's been awesome because we have great facilities, and everyone sees that when they come to VHAC, when they come to the VHHS stadium, we have a lot of like compliments with that. You know, it's so fun to be on the turf for both flag and tackle and see people's reactions when they come in, and it's, you know, it's a real stadium. It's really cool. So that's been really exciting. Alan Pavlik and Will Callanan have been taking that on, and they knocked on a lot of doors to make that happen this year. So it was really cool to have that go down. And then, you know, girls and boys basketball. Last year for boys, we had 65 players, which made up seven different teams, which ranged from 4th through 8th grade. Girls had 46 players across 4 teams for 5th through 8th grade. This year it's going to be really exciting because they're talking about getting that 4th grade girls team, which is, you know, girls sports, it's so interesting. Like at delay, we're finally seeing them like catch up to the boys. So we're excited and hopeful that we'll get that 4th grade team going and get more of these girls out. But we also have been doing some of the mini camps right now currently for girls and boys basketball. And we've had 50 boys and 50 girls doing these same little mini camps that we have been finding success with. Cost-wise, we've been able to keep things, you know, pretty steady. The only thing we'll really probably see a dip in is that we didn't want to go too expensive on tackle. That can be a really expensive undertaking, but we kept it at that $525 cost for people, you know, and it'll probably hit a little bit into next year's funding, but it's not going to be something that we're concerned about because of our flag football profits. That'll help us even out. So really, it's just pretty exciting. We just put on our board, we have Chad Noyes is helping Jen Nolan with our flag football, but his wife Danny is trying to bring back cheer. So we're looking to bring back cheer, and we'll see how that goes. But she's already had a lot of interest because of the high school camps. We're trying to feed off of that and get some of these younger girls into these sports early. But yeah, that's our exciting year in the sports club.
Any questions for Emily? Commissioner Robbins?
Okay, I reviewed the financial statement and tax return, and I have a few questions. First of all, minor changes. Your financial statement is dated December 31st, 2024.
Oh,
it should
yeah.
be December 31st, 2023.
Yeah, I saw that. As soon as I was like, oh, he sent this over, but yeah.
Okay, but here is the big mistake. The financial statement is showing total assets at the end, as of December 31st of 23, of a little over 111,000. Yet your tax return is showing assets at the end of the year of 213,000. It's a $102,000 difference.
Oh, yeah. So, let's see. We haven't carried, so I know that I took over this year. I've taken over this year. But I know that we don't carry more than 100, so I'm not quite sure.
Can you check into that and let us know,
I
please?
can absolutely, because if you look at, because a lot of, I know that with the end of the year, we get a lot of funding coming in from our basketball. So October is when we do our basketball tryouts and teams form. And so we end with that, but then January is when a lot goes out for
Expenses.
uniforms and all the spending for basketball. So what we make is spend a lot on everything in the program. So we don't.
But that should be shown as, an increase to cash and deferred income.
Yes,
And,
So I
but
can ask-
again, the financial statement should agree with the
right.
federal and state tax returns, and if one, it might be where you might have to amend Illinois and the federal 990s. depending if,
I'll check in with Jason,
Okay.
If you
and
let,
find out
let us know, that'd be great.
what the difference is, and then, yeah, because I know a lot goes out and in at the same time.
Any other questions? Commissioner Sente?
Emily, just a comment, and I'm glad that enrollment, and it's been a good year. That's always great to hear. And I know regarding the tackle football, people fall on one side or the other. So I'm maybe on the side of a little less excited about that. But to me, it's just more a concern that when we're looking for volunteer coaches, I know in our contracts we have their training, just that there's, great enthusiasm and attention to the coaches really taking that seriously and encouraging the young players to have fun, but to follow the protocol so they are safe, because at that very young age, their brains are more
And for this,
susceptible.
so, and I appreciate you bringing this up, because this is something that I've spoken to, and I love talking about this. Like, we're part of the TCYFL, which is the Chicagoland Youth Football League. Their coaching requirements are very, intense. So you have to go through, there's a lot of safety, there's a lot of, drills, they go through each drill that they're talking about, they go through, different protocols for coaches to follow with that safety. Our equipment, is also really on par with the safety. Helmets have the air pockets that you custom fit to each player's head, and that's sort of fitted in a certain way that coaches are taught how to fit and make sure they're wearing it correctly. There is a program that we use called SWAY, which is it gives a baseline concussion testing. So at the beginning of the season, before there's anything even done, you do this test. Then if there's ever an injury on the field, you are doing that baseline testing to see if there's any differential. We have, one of the big things that we're spending on is when you have a home game, there's always an athletic trainer on site. There's always you have immediate coverage for all these games. But we're also doing this specific group because everything's done by weight. So you're not playing against kids who are 2 or 3 times your size. You're playing against someone in the same weight range. My son is 120 pounds, right? He's always going to be on the line. He's never going to be carrying the ball against some kid who's 90 pounds. He's going to be on the line, and he's going to be facing off against other kids who are the same weight, which helps, cut down on these injuries. It's also interesting to note, as we were looking to add cheer in, cheer actually is more expensive to insure than tackle football, because we put in all these safeties around tackle football. Cheer doesn't have that same, and there's more concussions in cheer than there are in tackle football. But we're very cognizant. We're also very cognizant of the fact that last year's freshman football team at VHHS had 6 players who had ever played tackle, and we saw that when they got beaten up on the field and they didn't know how to take a hit. We have coaches now who are learning these protocols through this training that they're going through, and they're able to teach the kids how to properly take a hit and how to properly tackle. So when you do come across kids who are wanting to be in tackle, they're getting taught at this middle school level, how do I fall correctly so I'm not hurting myself, and how do I hit somebody correctly so I'm not hurting myself and not, it's a more of a rugby style tackle, right? You're doing that wrap. But it is really, I think for me, I knew my kid wanted to hit somebody, and as much as he loves baseball, there's not enough contact for him. So come fall, he's geared up and ready, and I need him prepared. And we, as a town, I think it's really important that we know kids want to hit people, and we know they want to be involved in this sport, so let's have this proper prep so that when they get to high school, we're not sending them in to play a 200-pound freshman against our 95-pound freshman, right? Now we're ready. They've taken a hit. They know how to hit. They know what they're good at, and we're helping prep this high school. We're really trying to build this feeder system up so that we do have, not only just for our youth, but for as they go into high school.
Thank you.
And the other thing is, we've really been stressing, we love our flag program. We love it so much. We're one of the only communities that keep flag up through 8th grade, for our boys, not just our girls, where we like love it so much, but we also acknowledge, like, you know, by middle school, that's when we really want you to start thinking, like, if you love this sport and you want to take it to the next level, that's when we're talking about. We're not as concerned about getting like kindergarten first into tackle. We're talking about, we really are stressing, hey, by the time you hit middle school, it's really time to start thinking, like, if you want to do this, like, you need to step up and like practice this tackle, because you might find out you hate it and not want to even be part of it, come, you know, high school.
And some of the same attention on the pre-concussive hits, because those just repetitive are oftentimes more dangerous and cumulative, so it all follows them. So I'm just glad to hear that you're following those protocols. Thanks
And
for
that
elaborating.
Yeah, that sway testing is really neat because it does follow the kid. It's like done with parents and kids, like parents are very involved in it, and they do the testing and they can find out, like, you know, they're right on it, so,
Any other questions for Emily? Thank you very much.
thank you.
Next, we'd like to invite the Stingers to the podium.
Thanks for having us. I'm Rick Weingart with the Stinger program, and the Stingers have proudly served the community for 30 years, teaching fast pitch softball and competing on high levels. This past year, we had 4 teams, one at each age level, 10, 12, 14, and 16U. We have 50 participants, and our big fundraiser is our Candidate Classic. I think this is about the 21st or 22nd year of our Candidate Classic. It's the 3rd weekend in June. We brought almost 60 teams into Vernon Hills this year, one of the largest we've had, and we had $18,000 of profit at the end. Again, it's our biggest fundraiser. Next year it will be on June 20 to 22, and we utilize all of the Vernon Hills parks as well as the VHEC facilities. So it's an exciting time for us. In 2025, typo there, it should be fees for 2025. We're raised about 10 to 12% on all levels. As we go into 2025, we will have 6 teams, so a 50% increase. And the biggest reason there is, you know, we are now a lot of experienced coaches. So we've got 3 paid coaches, head coaches in our program with a lot of experienced coaches, especially some former players, and it's really helped us a lot. We were hit hard with COVID. We went from about 7 teams a year down to 3 in 2023, 4 in 2024, and we'll have 6 in 2025. The cost per player is getting to be about $2,000. We get 70% of that from program fees and about 25 to 30% from our fundraisers. As we go into 2025 season, our board has kind of turned over a little bit. We've got 9 board members, 4 are new. We meet every first Sunday of every month, and we have brought head coaches in for about 15 to 20 minutes of that meeting to give us their take on how things are going with their teams. We train indoors at 400 Corporate Woods 5-tool baseball. We've been there for a long time. We have an agreement now through 2026, and this is where we do our winter training indoor. And with this facility, we're able to give our players a chance or the opportunity to come on their own with their parents and do their own practicing outside the team level. And this is mainly taken advantage of in November and December, which are our only 2 down months of the year. We also participate in the winter pitching clinic with the Park District. We have a lot of young players this year at 10U and 12U, and we really hope to see that increase a little bit. And as we go forward, you know, our scholarship fund we have for families with financial constraints. We're always looking for ways to improve our infrastructure without outside performance, and trying to get more help with our catchers and our pitchers. And as I said, we're continuing to get more paid head coaches, especially for the 12, 14, and 16-year-old teams, as we get them ready for high school, as well as some may want to go further beyond high school. And the other thing we try to do as much as we can is we try to reach out to our former players and get them to come in and coach. We've got one who'll be a head coach this year, and that's the second one we've had in the last few years who has come back and taken over as a head coach. And that's the things we like to see. And our ultimate goal is to teach girls how to correctly play the game of softball, fast pitch softball, and become an asset to their high school team as they get older. So we're proud of all the success of our Stingers fast pitch program over the past 30 years, and we thank the Park District for all the help you've given us. And I'll echo what was said earlier about John Christensen. He's a gem when it comes to our tournament in June. So thanks for having us on. You have our financials and our tax returns. So any questions on that?
Any questions for Rick? We're good. Thank you, sir. Xavier, saving the best for last. Vernon Hills Community Baseball and Softball.
Once again, thank you for having us. First time doing this, taking over for Carrie. Xavier Batista, President of BHCBS. Let me start with the board. There was a lot of turnover on the board this year. We currently have 5 new incoming board members. And they are for umpire coordinator, Amin Merrily, community baseball members at large, Chris Cannon and Adam Melvin, community softball member at large, Mark Sender, community softball director, Jennifer Nolan. She's a workhorse. And that's what it. Talking about our tournaments here, so very successful last year with our tournaments. We held 3 in May. We had 162 teams across all 3 tournaments. And each of them were extremely successful. One of the biggest things that I've heard, because I was out there for all the tournaments, working them, and other teams are in awe of our facilities there. So nice job on keeping those extremely nice, because I mean, that is what I hear all the time from other teams. And that's why these tournaments sell out every year within 2 months. They're sold out. We plan to open up the tournament for 2025 on October 1st. And we anticipate once again selling out all 3. Moving on to our travel league. Last year we had 9 teams, 1 at each level. We had 2 at 13 and 2 at 12? No, yeah, 2 at 12. 2 at 12, 2 at 13. This year we're down to 8 teams. We had a big runoff of kids going to travel programs. So that's it. That's what we're seeing. That's what's hurting the community baseball program is teams going to Gorilla or the new women's farm system out of Bluff. So, but our goal as a community program is to keep our fees low. We're not trying to compete with these travel programs. I know a lot of them charge, $3,000 to $4,000. We want this to stay a community program. So we did have to raise our fee by $75 this year. So last year we charged $725. This year we charged $800. But in return, what we're going to do for them is provide clinics at our indoor facility in Woodlawn. So we didn't do that last year, so we want to give them more opportunity to get better at baseball. Down year so far this year, we have 83 kids signed up. So we have a team at each level, and then we're signing up 8U come mid-October. We're going to put that team together. So that's another thing I want to do differently coming in is we always waited to be the last team for tryouts. So I felt that we were the last stop on trying to find a team. So this year, 8U normally does their tryouts in previous seasons. February, we're doing October this year. So we will hopefully have a team set by the end of October. This fall, we have 3 teams playing in Game Time Events LLC, who I believe is renting the facilities at the BHAC. it's hiccups, but it, you know, not surprised for his first year doing it solo. One other thing on travel, like other people said, getting people to volunteer at head coach. It's been a struggle. This year, we are actually paying a high school coach to take on our 13U team. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tyler Lawson, so he has accepted to come on and coach our 13U team. Another thing I'm working with the high school is trying to make this a true feeder program into the high school. So that would be having coaches come out and talk to the 13, 14-year kids. A lot of those kids will be going to Vernon Hills High School to get more comfortable with them as coaches for Vernon Hills High School. Community baseball and softball. We also had numbers a little lower compared to 2023. And we anticipate those numbers probably be about the same coming into 2025. Community softball, same thing. Numbers were a bit low compared to other 2023 season. But I have some ideas on how to get those numbers up, which I'll be discussing with Emily and Jennifer the summer timeline. Other than that, that's all I got. I guess I have my financial overview. Any questions?
Any questions for Xavier? Commissioner Robbins?
I got a question. Do you go to the Cooperstown tournament every year?
Every year, yes, that is one of the biggest getaway tournaments that our 12U kids look forward to. We've been doing it for the past 5, 6 years at least, if not longer. So
Whether there's an amount on the financial statement of deferred income for the Cooperstown?
correct,
So that,
the way we look at previously Cooperstown was able to accept credit cards. Once Ripken took over, now we have to send checks. So all the funds that 12U team collected with fundraising, they hand over to us that same day. We cut a check for that same amount and send it to
I just wanted to make sure that you were still doing that tournament.
It's a big deal.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Xavier? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is personnel policies. Volunteer time off policy. May I have a motion to approve the proposed volunteer time off policy?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Vice President Senti?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. Next is the vacation policy. May I have a motion to approve the proposed revisions to the vacation policy?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Vice President Senti?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. Next item is Resolution 3-24, resolution authorizing the transfer of certain funds from the General Corporate Fund to the Capital Projects Fund pursuant to Section 5-1 of the Park District Code. Can I have a motion to approve $500,000 transfer from the General Corporate Fund to the Capital Projects Fund?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Yes.
Vice President Senti?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. Next item is the semi-annual review of closed session minutes and audio tapes. May I have a motion to withhold the release of closed session minutes of 11/20/14 as they need for confidentiality still exist to these minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Vice President Senti?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. May I have a motion to release the closed session minutes of 5/23/24, 6/4/24, and 6/4/24? I'm sorry, 6/4/24 and 6/24/24, as they need for confidentiality does not exist to the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Geraldo,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Vice President Senti,
Yes.
President Dorhofer.
Yes. May I have a motion to destroy the audio tapes from the closed session held on 12/26/22, it having been determined by the board that appropriate minutes were recorded as approved, and the written minutes meet the requirement of the Open Meetings Act with at least 18 months have passed since the meeting was held.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Geraldo,
Yes.
Vice President Senti,
Yes.
President Dorhofer.
Yes. Executive Director Employment Agreement. May I have a motion to approve the employment agreement for Matthew Laporte?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Geraldo,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Vice President Senti,
Yes.
President Dorhofer.
Yes. Kidding, yes. Wholeheartedly, yes. Moving on to reports and communication, Facility Manager Lacey Marinenko. Lacey?
Evening. In August 2024, 974 individuals attended the facility, accumulating a total of 6,677 visits. Our current total of monthly and annual memberships is 1,352 compared to 1,272 this same time last year. I have provided our membership statistics for leads, tours, and the sales over the course of the last month. Total new membership and passes sold was 57. Upcoming events, we have our Fall Fit Fest. This is something that's new for us this year. It's essentially a health and wellness fair. We intend to have vendors on site. We're gonna have some demo classes. This event is open to the community. We hope everybody will come in and come see our beautiful facility. We are supposed to have, or we will have an open swim available from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. that day. The event runs from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is also taking the place of our Member Appreciation Day for the month, so we will have that on the same day. And trying to think if there's anything else for that day. It is Halloween themed, so people are more than welcome to come in costume if they choose. For programming, October 1st and 4th, we have our next session of Tai Chi coming up. That will meet on Tuesday and Friday mornings. And then on October 13th, we have a Zumba for Awareness class. So this is honoring those who have or are currently battling breast cancer. And then on October 25th, we have a zombie Zumba class. So we've done this the last few years, so Halloween themed Zumba class. Again, members are welcome to come in costume. And that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Lacey? Thank you very much. Park Superintendent, Mark Fleischauer. Fleischman, Jesus, Fleischauer. Fleischman.
It's a common mistake.
Good evening. So some important things have happened this last month. The Hartman Park renovation, we are almost finished. Working with Hamilton Engineering, we went through last week, put together what we call a punch list of minor things that need to be taken care of before we can close out the contract. But the playground is open, it's accessible to get to, so please come and enjoy the park. There are some things in our contract that state that for cleanup, if there's damage from them, that they have to repair all damage, so piles in the aprons. We're waiting for the contractor to come out and take care of that, because if there is damage, then they are responsible fully for repairing all that. At Hartman Park, the gardens, we are excited to announce that next year the gardens will be opening. We were able to have 4 ADA accessible gardens put in. The 4 plots will feature raised garden beds that will be wheelchair accessible. We also had a water spigot installed to ensure that you'll have fresh water on site, not a tank of water. It'll look a lot nicer, it'll be a lot cleaner. So we're excited for that as well. The roofing project at the Sullivan Center has been completed. The warranty company came out and approved the completion of the project, so we have a 20 to 25-year warranty on the roof. We're waiting on the flashing at Lakeview to be completed. Once that is done, the warranty work will begin, and we should be done. They're working on it today,
had some shingle roofs done at Hardin Park as well. The pavilion was replaced. The roof was replaced on the pavilion as well as the far north picnic shelter, closer to the playground. The tile work at Lakeview Fitness Spa and Steam Room has been completed. There was a minor grouting issue we didn't notice until we initially opened the area, but we appreciated everybody's understanding and having to shut it down. Obviously, if water gets underneath the tiles, it can cause more damage than it's worth. So we wanted to take care of that right away. So we appreciate everybody's patience. And as many of you know, at the end of August, we had some pretty bad storms go through town here. The south end of town particularly. The village reached out asking for our assistance to help them. So we had two park staff members assist the village until their initial cleanup efforts were completed. It's about a week and a half, 2 weeks worth of time. Once their first stage was completed, they came through and helped us clean up all of our parks as well. So it was a great group effort, and we were very happy to work with them and assist the residents of Vernon Hills. So that's it for now. If there are any questions.
Any questions for Mark?
Questions?
Commissioner Sente?
I said no questions.
No question.
But you're looking really sharp tonight, Mark.
Next up, Recreation Superintendent Tom Ritter. Tom?
Good evening. October is a busy event month for us. Next Thursday, October 3rd, is our Scarecrow Fest, which we do over at the Century Park Pavilion. That's where guests come and they bring their clothes for the Scarecrow. We take care of everything else, like the cross that they're mounted on and all the stuffings and accessories. So there's still openings for that. It's $18 per group. We have registrations ongoing as we speak. Two of our bigger events, annual events, are a week apart, and that is our Trunks and Treats event on October 19th. That is when kids come out with their families to the Turtle Creek Water Park parking lot, and we have about a dozen different vehicles from different organizations and vendors where the kids can dress up and come trick-or-treat at those vehicles and climb around on the vehicles in some cases. Park support gives us, we do hay rides as well through the Circle Drive and over to the schools. And parents are always, not parents, but just families in general are very interested in pet events. We're always trying to find pet events. So in this particular event, we're going to incorporate having two different rescues. We're going to have Borders Tales Rescue out of Northbrook and Last Stop Rescue out of Elmhurst, both coming out with pets. And then we're going to have a costume contest with those pets as well. So it'll be the first time doing that. We'll see what kind of response we get. But you know, we normally get somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 or 400 kids at this event. So throw the parents in, you're in the high hundreds. There's a lot of people there. So hopefully they can maybe get some homes for some dogs, puppies. That's from 11 to 1 on the 19th. That's $4 per child. Parents don't pay. And the following Friday is our annual Fall Fest here at the Sullivan Center, which we've been doing for a long, long time. We'll have a magic show, as we always do. We'll have, I'm trying to think of the name of the business. There's a, I can't think, there's a business in the mall that does game, it's on the tip of my tongue. Darn it, they came out last year and they're coming up again this year. They bring crafts to us. It's a place in the mall where you go and do crafts and build things. They're coming out to us. And they're doing the activity for us, which is very nice. And what else do we have? Inflatables, we put a lot of inflatables in Gym B, and we have our annual costume contest as well. So. And last year we tried to diversify a little bit, try some cultural event. We did Dia de los Muertos on November 1st, which this year will be November 2nd from 3 to 5 at the Sullivan Center. We had about 100 people last year, so hopefully we can build on that. Maria is one of our site directors for PALS as well as a camp director. She's phenomenal, and she helps us with that event. She has some experience doing it too. So that event, it's kind of unique to me. I had never experienced it before, but it's a celebration, but it's a remembrance of those who have passed. So they set up, I call it an altar, but it's called an ofrenda. And you bring pictures and mementos of family that have passed, and it's the centerpiece of the event. But we have food, and we have crafts, and we have some games, and it's a passive event, but it was really well attended, and we're hoping we can build on that this year. That's a registration event as well. It's $5. Again, it's from 3 to 5 on November 2nd here at the Sullivan Center. And our biggest event of the year is always our Polar Express Storytime Train. We decided to take registration later this year because it's one of those events you have to request from the Metro, and oftentimes you don't get the date you request. So you request a date, you take registration, they change the date, now you've got to call hundreds of people to either change the date or get it. So we're like, let's just take the registration later. They approved it immediately, didn't have to do that. So, whatever, so the event's on December 14th this year. It's in the program guide is to be determined, but it's December 14th. Registration will start October 14th for residents first, and then non-residents can come a week later. I couldn't tell you when it would fill, but it's probably about a week. It fills. I mean, it doesn't fill the first day, but if anyone really wants to participate and they come back every year, I would come in the first couple days because it is first come, first served. And again, it's 3 train rides. No, it's 9:42, 11:42, and 1:42 p.m. on that date. So we do 3 separate runs of about 125 people per train. So we're just under 400 total registrations. And then just wanted to touch on programming. One of our biggest programs outside of like Pals and Camp this year, every year, is our youth basketball leagues. We're usually in the neighborhood of 300, little over 300 kids. Registration deadline for that is October 21st. Skill evaluation day is about 10 days later. Practices begin in December. It gives them a few practices before holiday break, and then when they come back, games start January 11th. So the key date there is October 21, and this is for all of our 3rd through 8th grade league playing children, boys and girls. 1st and 2nd grade, it's more of a class. They do play games, but it's more instructional. Different timeline. Their deadline to register is January 1st, and their skill day is January 4th. Just wanted to remind people too, last year, Jay Bowman started a jersey recycling program. Asked people to return them. We gave them a $5 credit. In return for that credit, we don't have to buy as many jerseys, and we don't have to put them in landfills, because a lot of those jerseys just get cycled out. So, and we had over 100 jerseys returned. So if we keep building on that, maybe at some point we can get 50% of them returned in the next few years. That would be excellent. So we're doing that again this year. So if people are listening to this and they have jerseys, go pull them out and bring them back. We'd be happy to give you a credit. I did want to mention, I forgot, we have a sponsor for the prizes for that costume contest at Trucks, Trunks, and Treats, and it's 12 Paws Pet Supply and Liberty Bell. So
Nice.
they're doing the prizes for that. So that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Tom? Commissioner Robbins?
Tom, you got to be careful. You had that festival that you're planning on Thursday, October 3rd. It also happens to be Rosh Hashanah.
The 3rd is?
Yeah. So, just wanted to point that out to you.
Is that a dusk starting event?
No, it starts the night before.
The night before?
Yeah, the Thursday is the full day.
Okay. Thanks for catching that.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Finance and HR Superintendent, Jessica Mitchell.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica.
Just some update on August financials. In August, the district received $246,000 of property tax revenue. This total year-to-date tax received is $3,559,000, or 55.6% of the 2023 adjusted property tax extension. As of August 31st, the district has $8,588,695 in cash and investments. There's $4,405,000 invested in 22 certificates of deposit and treasury bills, with the various maturing dates over the next 60 months. $4,182,996 is available for cash flow purposes. In August, all excess cash was invested in the Fifth Third Bank Money Market Fund at 4.49%, or at money market funds with investment brokers with 5% rates. As certificates and treasury bills mature in the months ahead, some of the funds will be reinvested and some will be left in broker money market funds as projected capital expenses become due. In August, our capital expenditures were $422,897. A breakdown was provided for you within the board packet. The bank transition from Fifth Third Bank to Wintrust, or Vernon Hills Bank and Trust, continues. This includes us opening accounts, transferring some of our property tax revenue most recently, and also some training for staff to help us to better understand how to do their online banking portal.
Lauterbach and Amen provided the draft of the fiscal 2023-2024 audit, which staff has reviewed and submitted comments and requested updates this week. The next draft will be provided for Commissioner Robbins to review. We're hoping to get that by the end of next week or maybe early the following week of October 7th. The final draft is expected to be delivered in your October board packet with a representative from Lauterbach and Amen presenting at the October board meeting.Ederma did provide their preliminary health insurance rates for calendar year 2025, which included PPO medical plan rates increasing 6.9%, HMO plan rates increasing 3.6%, and dental rates increasing 3.5%. No increase in vision allowance plans were adopted. The employee assistance plan is decreasing by 25% due to a change in provider, and the group life insurance rates remain unchanged. At this time, I am calculating the different options for our employee rates to help take some of that burden off of the Park District, so we don't have increased expenses. And the changes will be communicated to staff during the open enrollment presentation in late October. Our district's 2025 open enrollment options are due toEderma by October 11th. And at this time, in my preliminary calculations, our current HMO and PPO health options are the most affordable options offered byEderma, given the district's history with our current coverage rates, the amount of people that we have in HMO versus PPO, and single versus family versus plus child or spouse options. Just on the side of human resources, I just want to thank all of you for your support and for approving those personnel policies today that are helpful to help recruit and retain our staff. It makes for great benefits. So that concludes my report.
Any questions for Jessica? Commissioner Robbins?
One question. For the health insurance, is there a way we can get something from you showing, what the total cost is, what the employees are paying out of pocket for that, and what we are paying?
Yes.
That'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that something the board would like to see? Yes, no?
I'm indifferent.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Joe?
I don't need to see it.
Let's take a look at it one time and see what happens, please. Any other questions for Jessica?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now for the second to last time. Executive Director Jeff Fugero.
So, good evening, everybody. I just wanted you saw in Jessica's report, but I wanted to talk just real quickly on, I probably should let Amy do it, but Amy coordinated this effort with...
Excuse me, Jeff, could you just speak a little louder, please? Thank you.
Yes. Amy coordinated this effort with the Lake County Health Department. We had a training for 20 staff this past week or so. Naloxone, which is obviously an opioid assisted product, and the county is distributing free of charge to people to use, and so it was really important for us, as just citizens, that you may come across somebody, maybe not in your work life, maybe you're in a grocery store even, or maybe you're just out and you witness something like that, to have that available and accessible to you. And one of the interesting factoids, like Amy said to me, what age group do you think is more prevalent to overdose? Anybody want to take a guess in the county? Like, pick an age group that you think.
These were statistics that were provided by the county for 2023 specifically for their overdose.
65 and over.
I said 18 to 25.
Going younger.
35 to 50.
35, 50.
White males, 35 to
males.
50.
So that's where things start with, people that maybe have a sports injury and they get addicted to something. And so I thought that was a really interesting factoid that is becoming more and more prevalent, but I wanted to thank Amy for coordinating. I know Amy and Shauna put that together. So, great news for a couple of our leadership team members this past month. Cheryl Buman and just Mark Fleischman just yesterday, they passed their Certified Park and Rec Professional.
So proud.
Now we've got the entire leadership team, that have their CPRP, except the outgoing executive director that led this. But your new executive director is a certified professional as well. So it's a great feat and a great accomplishment. Not an easy exam. More than 50% of the people that take it fail the first time.
Vernon Hills.
So really proud of both Cheryl, who's been working on that for a while, and just Mark recently. Thank you, just echoing what Jessica said in terms of those two policies tonight with that volunteer policy and our vacation time off. I think it really does, and you had some data there that showed that many park districts, maybe not the volunteer part, but at least the vacation part, that extra, that we're kind of fitting in with what it would be a standard with other agencies. And I think I've spoken to some of you offline a little bit, and you see that maybe happening in your own, in your own work experiences. So thank you for that. I think you've got all the information you need on the NRPA conference coming up. If you have any questions prior to that, I would encourage you to just talk to Amy in advance. She's got all that information for you. Our OSLAD application with IDNR was submitted about 10 days ago. And so the improvements, that's all for Grosse Pointe Park. At this point, I know Jess and I worked today. There was some audit information, preliminary audit information that they want to have. So she's going to upload that and send it on as part of the application process. It's really a check the box for DNR to make sure the district has enough funding capability to meet the requirement of the grant. So this is a $600,000 matching grant. The project budget estimate is about $1.3 million. So we're going to spend a little bit more than our 50-50 match if, depending on if we're awarded the project and then when we put it out for bid. They say that we'll find out before the end of the calendar year whether we're awarded that, but typically our experience is the DNR makes the announcements at the state conference in late January. So we'll see how that prevails. If we are not successful, which I'm counting on we're going to be, then we'll have to do some value engineering on that project and look at trimming some things back. A lot of ball field drainage work that we're doing, some protective and safety netting in and around the 3 ball fields that's put in there, some additional path work renovation, some parking lot renovation, heating the restroom up at the building there, as we just did over at Century Park South. That's part of it. Some indoor storage area that we're going to clean up inside the building there. A larger gazebo. And I consider like Grosse Pointe has kind of this upper level where you got a nice playground and a shelter, and then you've got ball fields, and then you've got tennis court and basketball and some playgrounds, a couple playgrounds. A ninja style, more of, not like what you see at Sugar Creek, but it can be used for older kids and adults. So it's play equipment, it's outdoor play equipment that's suitable for a lot of different ages. Some additional outdoor fitness stations along the walking path. And I'd say that a larger gazebo on the lower level. Right now, I think it's an 8-foot. And we're talking about putting, I think it's a 14 or 16-foot diameter. So people that use Grosse Pointe like to go there, and they have summer parties and picnics. And so this is a pretty good size canopy that we're going to put in there. I think that was it. I didn't think I missed anything else. Oh, the basketball court. We're going to do a new basketball court and move it a little further west than what already exists. Some additional signage that'll go in and around the park as well. Okay? So that's that grant. Hopefully, we're successful on that. We did talk a little bit about Hartman Park. I think Mark addressed some of, Ms. Meyer's concerns out there. There's still some cleanup on the site, but pretty much the site is 95% complete. We are working with Gaywell Hamilton, who's a project manager, and asked them to submit for substantial completion to DNR so we can get our funding. That's still owed to us. That was a grant for $566,000. They gave us half of that up front as seed money for the project, so the balance will come back to us once either they come out and do a physical assessment to make sure that everything that was in the plan is in the plan and completed. The last thing we gotta do is, our park staff and Mark is working with, we gotta do a prescribed burn where we're gonna put the pollinator garden. And that's gonna be late October, early November, I think Mark's talking. But for the sake of the project, we can come in and just seed it if we have a DNR representative come out and do an assessment. That'd be just kind of the final thing we gotta do. So we're confident that we'll meet all the requirements of what the original grant proposed to get that funding. We have two other outstanding grants. One for the Lashen Park. If you recall, we had a grant, it was a capital grant. It was probably 5 years ago we got to do a playground and the tennis and pickleball. We never did the playground, but we did the tennis and the pickleball to a tune of about $210,000 of that $250,000. So we have submitted reimbursement for that, so that project's done. So now we just gotta, it's a long process to go through DCEO to get approved, and it will probably be after I'm gone. So we're pressing them more to get that $210,000 back. And then the second grant is the $500,000 grant that Senator Johnson pushed through. That's for the whole new roof we just did at Lakeview Fitness. So that project was $470,000,
About, yeah.
Mark. And so we're just about wrapping up, as you heard Mark talk about, just about wrapping up with everything there, and then we'll submit for that as well. So between those two grants, you've got a fair amount of money between the DNR grant on the reimbursement for finishing up Hartman. You have close to, $1 million that'll be coming back to the district that will go back into our capital fund. Now, mind you, all of those expenses I just made, we put out on our own. And so now we're just looking to be reimbursed for those. Okay. Any questions on anything with that?
Any questions?
Anybody? No. That's all I have then for tonight. Thank you.
No questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff.
Good.
Appreciate it. Commissioner committee reports and communications, there are none. Board correspondence, we did not receive any, so we will move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Robbins.
Nothing this evening.
Commissioner Sente.
I just want to thank the decennial committee, Tracy Kading and Rebecca Snyder, because we have completed now what we needed to do. It's a lot of time on their part, and I think they did a great job, so it was nice to have them. And I guess I wanted to acknowledge that, thank the board, all of us, because there was an extensive amount of time for the executive director time, many late nights, and it was nice to see that we got so many candidate responses. I think it's a nice testament to our staff and our district that we were attracting that number. So thanks, and we're looking forward to having that done and having Matt on board in a couple months.
Commissioner Roldo.
Nothing on my part.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Nothing for me, thanks.
And Commissioner Duhofer, I have none. That being said, having addressed all the items on the agenda, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Vice President Senti?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes, the time is 7:24. The regular meeting is now adjourned.